Alright, so we're on to video 3, where we're going to learn how to make shapefiles and calculate the areas of our shapefiles. So before you do this, if you haven't already, and you're wanting to calculate your areas in acres, make sure you go to Project and go to Properties and change, I guess I need to do it too, change our measuring distance. Well, you can change the feet, but this is the more important thing. I need to change it to acres and hit apply and hit OK. So now we're in the acre feet format. So first thing we're going to do is actually need to get a place for this shapefile to go. Actually, no, let's not do that. But anyway, so we're going to create a shapefile. Just think about how I want to do this. If I want to save it to a file or not. But zoom into wherever your field boundaries at. Be a little more organized here. Okay, we're going to make a field boundary on this field right here. So what's special about this field is that we have this big old long crooked thing in here that's kind of messing things up. We can't just make a shapefile around this whole thing without taking out this middle section. So what we're going to do to create a shapefile is we're going to come down here to this button right here and click Add New Shapefile. And this is where you're going to name it. So it looks like you do have to defaultly put it somewhere in here. And let's add this. So we're just going to dump it right here. Normally you'd have a file ready for it to accept it, but I'm just going to dump it in here and I'll delete it later. So let's just name it field boundary. And don't put any spaces in there. I'm pretty sure it won't run, but you never know. It might run, but just put a little undercase line in there. That would be great. So again, and you can select what type, which is defaultly the Israeli shapefile. So hit save. And then we need to change the geometry type to a polygon. Where you're doing points, you could have points, multi-point lines, and polygons. So we're going to do a polygon format. And the neat thing about this is if you know you're going to be adding on a new field, we can do it right here. So for instance, if we're wanting to find out the area of this particular field, we can type in area, and let's just put acres. So then our type, we're going to change this to, let's do a decimal number, and precision, let's just do to the nearest 1. So what that's going to do is basically round 120.9854 acres to like 121.0 or something like that. So we don't have this long list of decimal points. And then we click add this field to our list, and we can go ahead and hit OK. What that's going to do is make this little feature class over here where we can actually click on it and come up to our edit tab right here, and then click this little polygon tool to start drawing it. But before we do that, I'm going to unedit it, and let's go ahead and change this color. I don't really like this color, just because I don't like drawing polygons with colors, because if you go around the curve and you're coming back, sometimes your colors are in your way and you can't see your map. So let's just change this color fill to a transparent fill. Hit apply. Let's go ahead and change our line width to a 2. Hit apply, hit OK. Okay, so now we're off and running. Let's go ahead and make our shapefile. So go ahead and select it. You always have to have whatever you're modifying selected, so make sure it's selected, highlighted. Hit the edit tab right here and click this little polygon create function. So then you're going to come in here and just start clicking like you normally would to create a shapefile. So I'm just going to quickly burn through this map because the purpose of this is just an informational video. We're not actually getting in depth on making recommendations with this field boundary, so I'm not too concerned. So quickly click around the field, and then when you're satisfied with your field boundary, if you right click, instead of double clicking, you right click on QGIS, and this is where you can edit everything. So we can say, oh, I want this to be a polygon number 1, and then if you knew the acre area, you could type it in here, but we're actually just going to have QGIS calculate it for us, so just leave that alone. So hit OK, and now we got our nice field boundary right here. And you'll notice how on video number 1 I talked about coming into the settings and going to options and turning on your snapping. So I already have it on, and I clicked applied on that first video. If your snapping is not working, go ahead and click the enable snapping function, and then most of the time it's not going to actually put that into effect until you close out the software and come back in. So that's the downfall to that, but once you have it on snapping mode, everything should be good to go. So, but you can see here that I'm snapping around in the pink boxes. So snapping is working for me. A nice pink color, you can change that to whatever color you like. But now we got this ring out here that we need to get rid of. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and save our polygon right now so we're not doing anything crazy to it. And I'm going to go ahead and there. I just unclicked the edit tab and clicked it again just to get rid of that little arrow that was running around. And if we go up to, let's see, trying to remember here. Let me look at my, oh, here it is. Go to your edit tab and come down here to add ring. So we'll be adding a ring to this particular shapefile now. Again, it's at the edit tab and then add ring. And there's a bunch of other things you can shape a feature, you can delete a ring, you can add a part, so on. So that's a nice thing about QGIS right there. So you can modify polygons relatively easy. So we're going to add in our ring here. And clicking around here, don't be too precise. Well, maybe you do if you're making a field boundary for your tractor or something like that. And again, when you're done making your ring, you right click, and I'll go ahead and add that ring in there. And don't forget, whenever you edit anything, to come in here and save your edits. I cannot stress enough, save your edits. And to get out of the editing mode, click the little pencil button, and that will get you out of the editing mode. And to be sure that we actually created a ring, let's come down here and change our symbology to something other than translucent. Let's do a nice green color again, apply, okay, and now we can see that indeed our ring has been cut out, so it did work. So now let's say we wanted to calculate the area of our field. So we right click and go to our attribute table. We can see that we have our acre area right here with nothing in it right now. So before we do anything, if we want to edit it, we click on the little pencil button to edit. And then we're going to come over here to our little calculate button right here. So if we click on that, it's going to bring up this right here. You can actually just create a field right off the bat. You don't have to create a field and then do all the math on it. You can actually do all the math on an uncreated field and make a new one right away. With this function, you just name it, change it to whatever you wanted it, whole number, decimal, text, whatever you wanted, and you could change the output length and also the precision, so how many decimal points you wanted. But since we already have a field that's made up that is a decimal or a decimal field type and a precision of 1, we can go and update that now. So we're updating an existing field. We're going to update our area in acres. So in order to do this, you could look through all this down here and find out where it actually is. So it would probably be in geometry. So there's acre, so returns area of a current feature, area calculated basically on whatever your default settings on your project are. So if you go ahead and click on that, you can actually just write this in if you want to. We're going to see the output, so we already know that it's going to output this for our first row, and since we only have one row, that's what it's going to output. If we actually had if we had multiple rows, it would output a value for the first row, so it would let us know that it's actually working. If this comes up and says that it's not working, such as if I type in that, it's saying it's an invalid expression, so it's telling you right off the bat that it's not going to work, and it doesn't even let you push the OK button. So if we take that out and push OK, we can see that this particular field with my crappy Polygon drawing is 155.9 acres. So I think that is pretty much our video on how to draw polygons. So if you wanted to, oh, and then don't forget to push the save button and then the unedit button. So always do that. I think you can label this. So it's a single layer label, and we'll label it with our acre area. So if we wanted to see what our acre area was, we can actually do that. Let's change it to 30 point font. Hit apply, hit OK. It's actually kind of in the wrong spot of the page. I think there might be a way we can change that. There's a positioning placement. There we go. I don't know what it's going to do. We're going to find out. Okay, so it kind of moved off to the side a little bit. You can play around with that and actually move it off a little bit more. But if we had a normal polygon without a ring in the middle of it, just right in the middle would be just fine. So this concludes our shapefile creation video. The next video we're going to be looking at is how to add raster layers to QGIS, and also how to create an NDVI map. So I have that coming up, and let's see. Yep, and we'll also learn how to clip that raster layer to a particular field boundary or polygon feature vector layer. So with that, that'll conclude our shapefile creation video. So we will catch you next time.